All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm back with another video. Today I will be talking about what every team's biggest need going into the draft is, now that free agency has relatively quieted down. Um, Obviously there's a couple of moves still made by particularly with quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers, but for the most part, it should be winding down. So as you can see, I have the tier list set up: quarterback, running back, receiver, offensive line, edge, that's defensive line, linebacker, defensive back, and special team. I guess let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. I think their biggest need going into this draft, I think, might be their edge slash defensive line. They did lose JJ Watt this offseason, and you saw with loss of Chandler Jones that they couldn't get much pressure. I do think Arizona will look to bolster that in the draft. I do think if they stay at three, pending trades, obviously. I think if they do stay at three, I think they will take Will Anderson. However, we'll see what happens with if a team like the Raiders or Titans will trade up. But for now, I think the Cardinals take an edge. Atlanta. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do the same thing with Atlanta. I mean, they have Grady Jarrett, but that's just about it. I almost thought of defensive back for Atlanta, but they did get Jesse Bates from the Bengals, who I think is really good. And they, of course, they got AJ Terrell. So, with the exception of those two, I think Atlanta might go defensive back. I do think they're in a good position to take the first defensive back off the board. As a defensive line right here, of course, especially if Jalen Carter falls to them. I think they might try to get him. Or who knows, maybe they'll take the first wide receiver off the board, whether it's Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, etc. I do think they could take a wide receiver as well. Move on to the Ravens. Wide receiver all day. Whether it's a guy like Josh Downs or Zay Flowers or anybody else that might be there in that late first, early second if they do trade back that area. Maybe they'll take a corner in the first round, and maybe later on, if a guy like Boot falls to them, maybe they'll take him. But for now, I'm gonna say Ravens' biggest need going into the draft is a wide receiver. I do think the Ravens will be looking at wide receivers. Buffalo, I'm gonna say their biggest need is I'm gonna say their offensive line. I know they got pieces there like Deion Dawkins, Mitch Morse, and Roger Saffold, but I do think they could bolster it a bit more. This is another team where do think they could take a running back. If a guy like uh Bijan Robinson, if he falls to them, I could see Buffalo taking him. So I do think they might go running back as well. But they're also in a decent position to where they might end up taking another linebacker or defensive back, just like previous years. Buffalo, while they do have minimum needs, they could be leaning in a bunch of different directions. Carolina quarterback, need to say more. I mean, they they just got Andy Dalton, but do you really think Andy Dalton's going to be your future QB? There's a reason why they traded up to one in the first place. They're going to take a quarterback, and they'd be ridiculous to trade all of that, including your number one wide receiver, back again for probably a smaller price than what you already got for them. All right, moving on to Chicago. I'm gonna go offensive line for them. I like what they did at linebacker. I thought the Edmonds and Edward signings, I thought that was pretty good. They just got DJ Moore to add in a wide receiver room with Mooney and Claypool. I do like Herbert as a running back, and then of course they got Travis Homer as well. Um, for Chicago, that yeah, and they should it could be in a situation to grab grab an edge slash lineman, defensive lineman as well. I'll see who else falls to them. But for now, I'm gonna say Bears is an offensive line. Bengals. I'm seeing a few things for the Bengals. Defensive back, obviously. They could use some help in there because they lost both safeties. I mean, they're probably expecting Dax Hill to step up. It definitely can, but we'll see there. Linebacker could be something else. Although I do like Logan Wilson, they could grab a linebacker too. Obviously, line. They might trade away Jonah Williams, so they might get a new right tackle. Well, if they don't like Lyle Collins. Tight end could be something else that could be interesting. I mean, don't really have much tight end options. But for now, I'm actually gonna put them at tight end. This could be a team where I could see them taking probably maybe the first end off the board. And if not the first, maybe the second or third. See who's available. I think the Bengals are in a pretty good position to where they might take BPA. That's not a running back or wide receiver or quarterback, obviously. So I'm gonna say they take a tight end. Cleveland. I'm gonna say I say they go edge slash defensive line. Because I do think that uh that Myles Garrett, they don't really have much there. And I could be forgetting somebody else, but they lost to Javion Clowney. And for defensive tackles themselves, they're pretty lackluster. I do think they'll go edge slash defensive line. Dallas. I'm gonna say Dallas leads wide receiver. Dallas could be looking at a team to try to trade up in front of a team like the Ravens, the Packers, the Giants, maybe, and try to see if they can get a top wideout off the board. Um, I don't think they have much needs at running back. I do think they're going to extend Tony Pollard. That 1 year franchise tag. I could see them going. I could see them going possibly linebacker if they don't keep Leighton Vander Esch. Who else? Maybe defensive back as well. Although I don't mind their defensive back core at all. Denver. For starters, I don't think they'll get a defender. And second off, they don't have a first round pick. They traded their first round pick for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. But when they are drafting, I think their first move will go line. I think they'll go line first move. Maybe they'll get a right tackle opposite of Garrett Bowles. Maybe they'll another move beside line. I do think they'll try to look at tight end, see what the tight end room is looking like. Um, I could see them possibly leaning wide receiver if they trade Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. Denver could be a team that could be looking at making a move. Detroit. Linebacker, maybe. Defensive back. I they're the top two, but I think they'll take Jalen Carter. I think they're gonna be a team that takes the risk on Jalen Carter. Maybe they'll take up Miles Murphy as well. That could be a move as well. I do think they'll try to bolster that defensive line, give Aiden Hutchinson some help. Packers, as I said before, wide receiver. This could also be a team that looks to trade down, possibly getting some more assets. But for now, I think they'll take a wide receiver around one. maybe alignment if somebody falls to them. But for now, it should be wide receiver. Houston, best available. But look at their first pick. I do think they'll go quarterback. I do think they'll go CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, whoever Carolina doesn't take. Other than looking at it in a similar light to the 2016 NFL draft, where the top two prospects, if you remember, were Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. And I think it's something similar as Carolina and Houston. They're looking at Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Indianapolis at 4. They'll probably take third best, assuming Arizona stays at 3 and take Will Anderson. I do think Indianapolis will look at the third quarterback on the board, whether that's Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. I do think the Colts will go quarterback with the fourth pick. I don't think Duggan will go in the first round. I don't think Hooker will go in the first round. I don't think Bennett will go in the first round. Those are more like your third round, fourth round prospects. I do think though to take the Colts will lean quarterback with their first round pick. Jacksonville, look at them. Their team similar to Buffalo, where they don't have many needs, but or Cincinnati where they don't have many needs, but they could look at best available. That obviously isn't anything that they really have stacked up. Quarterback, wide receiver, running back. But I think we'll follow them. I do think they'll take a corner. I do think a cornerback will follow them, and I do think that's what they will take. Yeah. Kansas City, similar situation. They'll probably look at line. They'll probably look at the defense. See what's the best available defensive player. But I put them at defensive back. But similar to the Packers, this is a team that could look to trade back, even if they're at 31. They might try to look to trade back if it's a player that they like. Is already off the board. Chargers. A good thing they're taking an interior defensive line. I mean, they don't really need an edge because they got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Could see them taking offensive line, whether they take a right tackle or another guard or something. Maybe a wide receiver 3, although they don't really need one. They could look at tight ends, obviously. But who I think they will take, I'm going to say they take a lineman. I think Chargers will take a lineman with a pick, with one of their picks. For the Rams, this is a team that I was looking at possibly taking Hooker or Bennett or Duggan in a mid round, just to get if Stafford ends up retiring in a couple years. But for what I do think they'll try to look at, maybe they'll even try to trade up for. I think they'll try to look at tight ends. I know they got a tight end for. I know. No, actually, I'm gonna try to change my mind for that. I say they take a lineman. They just traded for a one with Miami, and of course they had the starter. So I just I'm blanking name on right now, but yeah, I say they take line. Las Vegas. Uh, hmm. I'm gonna say they take the fourth quarterback off the board with that seventh round pick. With that seventh overall pick, they're gonna take Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, whoever the Colts don't take at 4. I do think the Raiders will end up taking at 7. Solicited order goes Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and the Raiders at 7 will take Will Levis. That's how it could be right now. I do think that will be the Raiders' first round pick or Miami. Miami doesn't have a first round pick. They don't have a second round pick. So they won't be picking until the third round. And they'll probably go best available with that pick that's not a quarterback or a wide receiver. But I think they will probably take running back. I know they got Raheem Mostert, and I know they're looking at extending the running back they got from San Francisco. Her name I'm blanking on. But for now, I do think Dolphins will go running back. Minnesota. Minnesota, where do you go? Why not tight end? Say this guy Hawkinson. Could see line, maybe. Could see defensive line. I'd say they take a defensive line. I do think they'll try to bolster that a bit better. I know they got Daniel Hunter. Um, I know they got Harrison Phillips there as well. I do think they'll try to look at that. New England, I'm gonna say they take a wide receiver. Fourth team here that will take a wide receiver, just because I do think Patriots are solid at quarterback. They're solid at quarterback. I don't think they'll be the one to trade for Lamar. I do think they'll try to roll with Mac Jones for another year. I don't think they're taking a running back. I do like Ramondre Stevenson. I and also they're taking a tight end. They got Gasecki and they got Hunter. Uh, I don't see them. Or could they end up taking a lineman, maybe. But for now, I do think they'll take a wide receiver. Saints. I think they'll try to get defensive back help. They got decent safeties, but I do think they'll try to get more corners, help out line more. If that safety, then probably a linebacker, then probably a tight end, wide receiver, get some more weapons. But for now, I do think the Saints should look at that. The Giants, another team that will take a wide receiver. Um, they don't really have much there. I mean, they just released Kenny Galladay. They traded Kadarius Toney. And their top wide receiver on their depth chart right now looks to be Wan'Dale Robinson, which isn't good. I did think they'll take a wide receiver. The Jets. Another team that could look at wide receiver. Corey Davis is still a question mark. I don't know what they're doing with Corey Davis. They traded Elijah Moore away. Braxton Berrios is not, I believe, in Miami. So they definitely are missing wide receivers. I do think they'll go wide receiver here. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Chris is gonna go Bijan Robinson with a 10th overall pay. Um, I'm definitely not going wide receiver. I do think they'll go defense back though, preferably a safety with their second pick. Um, I do think the Eagles will be pretty decent, but I mean their team doesn't have many holes. I could see them going a couple different directions. Pittsburgh, I think they'll go cornerback. I do think cornerback's their biggest need, followed by offensive linemen. I think they'll go cornerback with their first pick. And then with their 32nd pick, I do think they'll go line. Maybe they'll try to trade up for somebody. I don't know. Maybe later on to take a wide receiver. Maybe a linebacker. Maybe or a couple different directions. Seattle. I don't think they'll go wide receiver. I don't think they'll go running back. I don't think they'll go tight end. I could see them go maybe a guard, but that's really the only big goal there. But for now, I do think this is a team that will look at a edge slash defensive line, whether it's Will Anderson, if the Dolphins, if the Cardinals trade out of 3, whether it's Jalen Carter, if they're at 5, if Will Anderson went 3 to Arizona, could take Miles Murphy as well. Dallas could be in a decent position to get any of those. San Francisco, this is another team that has struggled a bit on. Is once again, they don't have a pick till 3rd round. Quarterback, I don't think they'll take a quarterback. Running back is probably a no. Wide receiver probably a no. Tight end is probably a no. Offensive line. Now, this could be interesting. I don't think they have great guards. And they just lost their right tackle to Denver. I think they'll go offensive line. Help boost that position up a bit more. If not offensive line, maybe a corner. Tampa Bay. I could see them go in defensive back. I don't think they go linebacker. I, but the possibilities of them going edge, that's interesting. Because I know they took an edge a couple years ago in the 1st round. And I know they still have Shaq Barrett. And he's pretty decent as well. Um, and then inside they got Vita Vea, but I could see them going with another edge slash lineman to help boost that up a bit more. If not, once again, defensive back, maybe offensive line. Tennessee, I'm gonna say they go offensive line. Offensive line, running back. They have to go with one of those two. I cannot see them trading up to 3 and taking a quarterback. With what line? With what wide receivers? Do you really expect them to go some makeshift offensive line? Throw them to Treylon Burks and a bunch of Walmart employees again? I can't see it. Can't see it. I think they have to go offensive line or wide receiver. They cannot pass up this opportunity and take another quarterback. If maybe just roll with Tannehill for another year. Maybe you could also see what Malik Willis has in preseason and training camp. See what you got in Malik Willis. See what you got in Ryan Tannehill. You cannot pass on cannot take a quarterback. There's more of what not to take than what to take, but I keep seeing these rumors that they're going to take those, and I don't see it. Washington, I don't think they'll take a wide receiver. I don't think they'll take a tight end. I think they'll go line. And they'll go their offensive line or maybe linebacker, defensive back. But that's where I think I'll put them for now. And I do think they'll struggle a bit with their line a bit. With that, I do think they'll go off the line. But anyway, that's my tier list from top to bottom. Carolina, Houston, Indianapolis, the Raiders will take a quarterback. Then Miami will be one of the few teams to take a running back. Ravens, Cowboys, Packers, Patriots, Giants, and Jets all look at wide receivers. Bengals, I think, will look at tight end. Maybe the Bengals might look at offensive line like the Bills, Bears, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Rams, Chargers, 49ers, Titans, and Commanders. Cardinals, Falcons, Browns, Lions, Vikings, Seahawks, and Buccaneers all might look at the edge plus defensive line. I don't have any teams in linebacker. Although there's a couple teams that, although if I only have more than one of these teams, I might look at moving a couple more there. Defensive back, we got Jaguars, Chiefs, Saints, Eagles, and Steelers. Other than that, where you could see a couple of these teams repeat another spot, and nobody in special teams. I do think every team has a bigger need in special teams. Basically, special teams is like you're fine with just better than anything else. And also, I do think most teams probably have their kicker, their punter, return specialist, etc., all ready to go this offseason. So that's everything. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.